Welcome back to the Polaris Energy Finance Podcast, where we bring conversations happening at the frontiers of energy and mining finance directly to the next generation of people building careers in this space. Today's guest is someone who I think perfectly embodies what this show really is about. Michael Wood is the Director of Commercial Development at DG Matrix, a Raleigh-based company building what they call an Internet Router for Power, a solid-state transformer platform designed to solve the power problem for AI data centers. DG Matrix has raised over $100 million and is, by their own account, the only solid-state transformer company shipping commercial product today. And Michael's path here is one I think a lot of you will find both relatable and a little wild. He started his first company at 9 years old. He went through Duke as a mechanical engineering student, co-founded Energy Terminal, a media and community platform for the next generation of energy professionals, interned at BP's Innovation and Engineering Group, and graduated with a McKinsey offer in hand, which he voluntarily deferred to join DG Matrix as their first full-time US employee. And over the next nearly 3 years, he's helped to scale the company from zero to over $100 million raised, hundreds of employees globally, and a commercial footprint at the center of the AI infrastructure build-out. We're going to talk about the technology, the go-to-market journey, the fundraising, and for the students and early career folks listening, what it actually looks like to make a high-conviction bet early in your career. Michael, welcome to the show.
Very nice to be here, and thank you for hosting me. And you're bringing back a lot of memories with your background in the Duke podcast studio. That's where many things started for me, however many years ago. So really glad to be here speaking with you.
Thank you, Michael. Would love to hear more about that story as we go forward when we talk about Duke. Before we talk about the Duke journey, I want to go back in history a little bit. So I read that you started a company at 9 years old. I have a question. Was that entrepreneurial inspiration, or do you think someone planted that seed early on in you?
It's a good question. I think a lot of it is very intrinsic. I've always been very adventurous, very curious, like to go out and build things. Part of the reason why I'm here at DG Matrix and part of the reason why I studied engineering in the first place is a great outlet for that. But that's true. I started Golden Lure Tackle Company, selling handmade spinnerbait fishing lures at 9 years old. And I think like many great things or many good things, it starts pretty organically. So I was always a passionate fisherman. My grandmother had a house on the Texas coast that I grew up fishing at, and lures are very expensive for a 9 or 10-year-old. And so I started making some of my own, and I didn't really think too much of it at first, but started making my own lures, started fishing with them. They started working. And so I had a few family and friends who I would sell them to and whatnot, and like some of the local guides down in that area. And then one day, it was my godfather, I believe, sent me some pictures of some massive trout that he had caught with my lures. He's like, hey, I think you should do something about this. And so I actually went to the marketing agency, got like a logo and a website, like some of the basics. And then I kid you not, I sat down with a stack of about 20 borrowed magazines I borrowed from a local tackle shop and just started cold calling editors. Like, my name is Michael Wood. I'm 9 years old. What is an ad and how do I get one? And so that was the kind of start of, scaling up and, selling fishing lures online. And it was fun. I hired my friends, paid them 10 cents a lure and cookies to make lures for me on the kitchen table. And it was a great kind of initial foray into entrepreneurship that has kind of charted the course for a lot of how I've shaped my life and career to date.
Wow, that's really cool to hear. Just how that environment around you sort of influenced, I guess, what kind of field that you were interested in. And I'm curious to know that entrepreneurial spirit was within you when you probably came to Duke. Just curious, when did energy specifically pull you in? Was there like a specific Duke class that you took or a headline that you read?
So my freshman year, I came in all in on entrepreneurship, but I was actually focused on the healthcare space. And so
Oh,
the summer after my freshman year, I was supposed to go do a Duke and Silicon Valley program, super excited about it. And then March 2020, COVID happened, and so that program got canceled. So I was scrambling, trying to figure out what I was going to do. One way or another, ended up getting an internship at a natural gas processing company in San Antonio, Texas, which is my hometown.
Mm.
Same time, I was taking an energy and environment class, which was just an elective for me, no specific interest in energy yet. But the combination of that internship and the work that we were doing and that class and having a family background in the energy
Mhm.
industry with oil and gas in South Texas, it was completely a light bulb moment for me. Of really, it was the four things that I saw as very core to who I am coming together, which was my family background in the energy business, sustainability, which I also grew up very passionate about as a result of growing up in a ranching family and wildlife, sustainability and whatnot, and then engineering and entrepreneurship. And then couple that with energy being the foundation of everything in this world and the best way to make an impact on anything you could possibly dream of. I was hooked. So came back
Mhm.
all in on energy and joined the energy club, started going, talking to as many people as I possibly could. And that one way or another led to founding Energy Terminal, which was, of course, another major inflection point for me and truly going all in on the energy industry.
Wow. It's like super inspiring to hear about one's journey of finding their, I guess, true calling in their career and also in their life. Texas, I went to Texas twice this year, really unplanned. I haven't been to San Antonio yet, but I went to Austin in January and Houston in March. And in my Austin trip, I got a pair of cowboy boots for the first time in my life. So I would maybe rock that when I maybe see you in person.
Absolutely. I don't wear anything else. Very proud Texan, which is also cool now because Texas is becoming the number one place in the country for data center
Mm.
development. It kind of has the mix of all the things that you need to build a data center, but we can get into that in a little bit. I know that's on the agenda.
Absolutely. Wanna hear a bit about your experience with in Texas and BP and when most people think about like BP, they imagine oil field. So I'm just curious to know what that experience was like. And you talked about how the Duke classroom experience shaped your understanding of energy, but how that internship experience shaped your view of energy, especially in terms of innovation and startups.
I learn best by talking with people.
Gotcha.
Think you can learn more from a 20-minute conversation with someone in an area of interest to you than hours and hours of research and reading articles. So I was very focused on wanting to understand how the energy industry works at a global scale. So it's very different from, what we might study in an engineering class about how different energy technologies work, how the grid works. But you have to couple that with economic and operations and logistics and politics to really understand the true scale and complexity of the energy system. And where better to do that than at one of the largest energy companies in the world. So got to intern there after my junior year at Duke and was working on a variety of projects, including one with the ventures team, which I absolutely loved. Got to look at a lot of really cool companies, really neat people. And one way or another, that kind of pushed me toward applying for a job at McKinsey.
Mm.
Happy to tell that story another time. But that did very much help shape kind of my thinking about the global nature of the energy industry, most importantly, and how you think about creating real impact. Um, I definitely gravitate toward a more entrepreneurial environment. And so DG Matrix is much, much closer to the core of where I feel my strengths are and what I love to do. But it was a phenomenal experience and got to meet a lot of people, learn a lot.
That's a fantastic answer. Curious to hear. Now we're getting to Digimatrix, our listeners. Thank you for being patient with us there for a bit. We're gonna talk about DG Matrix for sure. Just before we delve into that, I'm curious to hear about your decision to join DG Matrix out of Duke. And a lot of our listeners are, I think, at a similar fork right now, a traditional path or versus working in a very exciting startup space. Walk us through that journey.
2 weeks after I accepted an offer to join McKinsey's Houston office, I was speaking at an event at Duke with Harun Anam, who's the now co-founder and CEO of DG Matrix. And after we spoke together, he said, "Hey," and we had known each other for some time before that. So this was not our first time meeting at all. He said, "Hey, I've got something that may be interesting that I'd like to show you. Can I take you to lunch?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we go to lunch together. He pulls up on his iPad and it says "New Co" on it, as in like new company. DG Matrix didn't have a name yet, but he took me through some slides on what they were doing, and then we were in the EV charging market. And long story short, he looks across the table and he said, "I want to teach you as much as I possibly can about being the best founder and the best CEO for the future.
Wow.
And I want you to come do this with me." And over the course of a few subsequent conversations, I ended up deciding to join DG Matrix. Initially, pushing back my McKinsey start date to be able to do that, and then very, very quickly fell in love with the industry and the problems we were solving, and of course the phenomenal experience of being able to work with people who have been successful in this industry for a very long time and can teach me so much. So very grateful for that lunch and conversation.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk actually about that later on, about the team and what
Sure.
you'll learn from the team. But before we go into that, let's just make sure everyone understands what Nuco at the time, what is now DG Matrix now, actually built. The founders described the inner port as an internet router for power. What does that analogy mean, and why is this hard enough that nobody has shipped it commercially yet?
So we think about a conventional transformer, workhorse of the grid, a hunk of iron, copper, steel, and it has a very simple job. It takes in one voltage, AC, and it spits out a different voltage, AC. So all it does is just transform voltages. A solid state transformer is able to give you a varied voltage range and also the ability to convert from AC power, like we have on the grid, or from a generator, to DC power, which is like batteries, so solar, etc. What's different about what DG Matrix is doing is we are what's called a multi-port solid-state transformer. We're the only company with a multi-port solid-state transformer and the only commercial solid-state transformer company in the world. And what that enables is effectively to be like that internet router for power. So think of us as sitting right at the center, integrating multiple energy sources, loads simultaneously, AC, DC, different voltages, different ratios, etc. And that gives us an enormous amount of flexibility to be able to go and deploy into data center environments, into commercial and industrial environments, and the fleet charging environments, all with the same product. And so what that translates to is an ability to help customers get power a lot faster, have much more reliable power systems, and also completely transforms the economic how we think about energy. And then on the second question about that kind of why now for solid state transformers, solid state transformers have been a concept for quite a while. Our co-founder and chief technology officer, Dr. Subhashish Bhattacharya, NC State professor, has been working on SSTs for 20 years. I mean, he's the global leading researcher. But there's really three things about why now is the time for SSTs. Number one is technology advancements. Semiconductor technologies like silicon carbide really make these high power, higher voltage power electronics much more feasible and economic. The second thing is the market. Data centers, electrification. There is an unprecedented demand for more power and more control and more complex power systems that really feeds into the capabilities that you need from an SST. And then the third thing is very specific on what DG Matrix does, and that's the multi-port solid state transformer. So going from, conventional solid state transformer solutions, one input, one output, you add some value in terms of efficiency, control, flexibility. But where the real value is when you're able to use a multi-port solid state transformer to essentially condense an entire complex power system into a single unit. That's where the massive value creation is. That's what our customers are asking for, and that's what's driving our growth in all of our major markets.
Wow. Okay, that was a really comprehensive answer about what DG Matrix has built, not even building, has already built, has already proven its success. Curious to hear what it looks like in data centers right now, because I'm assuming data centers are a big part of your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go back a couple of years actually as a segue of how we got to data centers in the first place. So
Hmm.
initially, we were doing EV charging, we were doing microgrids, commercial and industrial electrification. And then, I kid you not, one day we got a cold call from a C-level executive at one of the largest chip makers in the world, whoever they may be. And he said, we've been scouring the planet for a solution that can help us solve three problems. One is data centers need more power, and we need a solution to deliver more power to data centers. The second is we are transitioning our architectures toward DC voltage, and we need help thinking about how we architect that change with technology that exists. And the third is there's this thing called AI pulse loads, and these crazy spikes that GPUs make, and that translates to very significant challenges for the grid or for on-site generation for storage to be able to manage. And he said, and you were the solution. So that kicked off a now 2+ year partnership with NVIDIA, and that has changed the trajectory of our work in the data center market. And so now the vast majority of our pipeline, of our deployments, of our focus is focused on helping AI data centers get faster time to power and to prepare for the future as all of this chaos in the market around different standards and voltages and architectures comes to fruition. DG Matrix can be there as the single interface that enables all of it.
Wow. And as I'm hearing it, DG Matrix is one of the only companies that are able to do it at a commercial scale across the US.
Yeah, absolutely. We are the only multi-port solid state transformer company, and we are the first solid state transformer company.
Very cool. I would love to hear a bit more about grid solutions and also providing reliability for different customers. I remember attending one of the showcases last year, actually, a couple of years ago at Duke Energy Week, and I was just in awe of all the solutions that DG Matrix was providing. So, what solutions do you guys have for grid reliability or just reliability in general as well?
It's a great question, and we think about it in a couple of different ways. There's reliability for the grid, there's reliability for the load, and of course, data centers are very complex power systems, and so they require significant reliability and resiliency requirements. So there's multiple layers in terms of how we think about delivering reliability and redundancy. One is, by nature of having this multi-port solution, any one of those ports can fail and every other port is still operational. So we can keep that data center, we can keep that load running, even if there is a failure on any one of the ports. One of the very big things that we also see is on the flip side of grid reliability. States like Texas are seeing such enormous data center growth that they're coming out with new standards, SB6 specifically, that govern how large loads like data centers have to be able to interact with the grid in order to support it in times of peak power, so we don't have issues like what happened with Winter Storm in Texas 3-4 years ago. And so they're requiring these capabilities around demand response, load management, on-site power generation, being able to leverage that to support the grid. And that's a very, very unique capability of DG Matrix to be able to support that. So we're seeing a huge growth in that segment because we can actually sit as the buffer, like the interface between whatever's going on the grid and on the power side and whatever's going on the data center side. So if there's a grid outage, that isn't going to affect the data center because we can manage that and we can deliver uninterruptible power to the data center. But also on the flip side, maybe the data center is spiking, the loads are fluctuating. We can ensure the grid doesn't see a single blip, a single harmonic or power quality issue because we have that unique ability to be that hardware and software interface between any source, any loads. We can protect the grid and we can protect our data center customers.
Wow. So DG Matrix has gotten to, I'm looking at it from two perspectives, from commercial and from technology. I think it's technologically very versatile, has amazing applications across the energy system. Commercially, it's also very successful. But I want to go back to day one now of when you joined, when you were the employee number one on US soil, right, to get to this success level. What did it actually mean on day one? Did you have to understand all of it on day one? And how did you build from scratch without a playbook?
It's a great question. And to be totally honest, I'm not quite sure that I realized how early we were when I did join. But I had enormous conviction in the vision of the company and in the leadership, specifically our two co-founders, our CEO, Harun Anam, also Duke grad, and our CTO, Dr. Subhashish Bhattacharya. I mean, these two gentlemen have had incredibly successful careers and have built unbelievable platforms, unbelievable companies and technologies. And it was really because of them and because of the people that I had the confidence in joining DG Matrix. And I knew that not only would we succeed, but they would teach me an enormous amount along the way. And that goes for some of our advisors too, who were there at the time and who have run multi-billion-dollar companies as CEOs all over the world. And having access to those type of people to learn from is so invaluable. So for anybody thinking about going into an earlier stage company, the people is by far the most important thing. And you're right, there was no playbook. There's a large element of figure it out, and ultimately what we had drive us as our North Star is really what the customers are saying. That's the most important thing. You're anchored on solving a real problem for real people in a market that sees value in what you're doing. And so if you keep the customer and the problem that you're solving right at the center, then you build everything else around it. And the reality is that it's hard and it's a roller coaster and there are high highs and low lows. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's such an incredible experience. And looking back on it now, having scaled to now we're 350 plus people globally, raised over $100 million. It's beyond our wildest dreams what we've accomplished in this time.
Absolutely.
It's getting better from here.
It's only getting better from here. Amazing.
And exponentially faster.
And exponentially faster. Amazing. You say your North Star is your customer, and that was very helpful when building your company. And I think that's such a wise reflection to give to all founders and folks working on early stage ventures. Curious to draw on from that, where you said North Star is your customer. How has DG Matrix go-to-market strategy evolved over the years, over the course of the business, from those early stages to now, obviously raising $100 million and having these amazing customers and having a lot of projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think the fundamental thing was our shift in focus from the electrification market to the data center market. And that was a direct response to not only that cold call that we received, but from a lot of customers needing solutions that were, what DG Matrix could deliver. And listening to that, understanding that market, and going out and seeking the answers where we didn't know. And so we've definitely evolved from thinking about the electrification market to now we're really laser focused on large scale data center deployments. And with that comes, there's an enormous amount of need for partnerships and to
Yeah.
go-to-market strategy. I know that's something that we touched on, that data centers is a very conservative market, and the scale is absolutely enormous. That coupled with customers are always seeking solutions. They're not seeking products. As much as I would love for everybody to come tell me, I love solid state transformers, give me all of them. The reality is that customers are coming to us and they're saying, I need this problem solved. I need this solution. And so that has led us to really be laser focused on forming these partnerships with companies like PowerSecure, who's a multi-billion dollar division of Southern Company right here in our backyard in Durham. And we're working very closely with them to deploy integrated solutions at gigawatt scale. Companies like Exawatt, who's also supporting the data center market and working closely with some of the largest data center companies in the country, and others that we've announced like Bloom Energy and many others. And so focused on that North Star of delivering maximum value to the customer, you walk backward and understand the partnerships that will enable you to scale most effectively while delivering the most value to customers. So that's kind of a snapshot in terms of how we think about the market. Customer driven, and we build the solution, we don't build the product.
That is a great answer, especially at the rate we're scaling with data centers and AI right now. That partnership-driven model, I think, is so much needed. On that note, I have a technology question. When customers come to you, especially for a high growth startup, and for a company that's providing such fantastic technology like DG Matrix, how often do you get to, I guess, modify your technology? Is there an active research and development still happening right now? How much are you investing in that?
Of course, we've got 350 engineers globally, and they are very busy, not only supporting our existing customers and deployments, but also looking ahead at the next generation. It's an interesting question you ask on product modification, because it really kind of goes back to the fundamental thesis of DG Matrix, which is standardization in the hardware layer and configurability in the software layer. So even as we talk about these different markets, we're deploying the exact same solution. We might package it a little bit differently, but it's the exact same core technology that we're deploying at a microgrid, at a manufacturing site, or to power an AI data center. And so the magic is really in that software layer. And that's a core value that our customers see as well. That taking the data center space, for example, there's so much uncertainty in the market. And if we can enable them to go in and deploy a single standardized solution that they know that no matter what racks or chips they're using, no matter what power sources they have available, no matter what geography it's in, no matter what grid territory, that it's going to work and it's going to deliver the maximum value to them. That is really core. So very much focused on the evolution of what we're doing and the software side to be able to support our customers and to bring these value-added capabilities to existing hardware infrastructure solutions, while also looking toward the future of what's next and continuing to get better and better based on feedback from our customers and partners.
Fantastic. Um, that versatility on the software level is fantastic. It just continues to upgrade then. Like you have the hardware, and then it's a resilient hardware, I'm sure, and then the software continues adapting to different changes. Speaking of different changes and scale and a bit of competition, I want to hear about the fact you've said power, not servers, will decide the AI race. Unpack that for someone trying to understand energy finance who maybe hasn't connected the dots to AI infrastructure. And I want to quote like a small fact here where
Please.
every megawatt of data center capacity generates up to $15 million annually. Delays translate directly into lost revenue. So how is that math changing how your customers are making decisions?
That is exactly the stat that I was about to cite, so I'm glad you beat me to it. But when you think about the value of every megawatt, I mean, to $10 to $15 million a year, Everything else is secondary. So when we're talking with data center customers, especially, time to power is the single dominant metric. And a lot of times what we're seeing is if we can get customers online 2 months faster, 3 months faster, 6 months faster, that translates to hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in revenue potential. So everything else is just kind of down the line in terms of value creation. I had a customer that we were talking with this morning who said, I think that you can get my data center online 18 months faster. And that is a complete change in their revenue trajectory in terms of their profitability and their competitive differentiation in the market. So we really, really focus on that time piece of being the fastest to deploy, the fastest time to power for AI data center solutions. And so if you don't have power, you can't turn on the chips that generate your revenue. So you have to have all those components coming together, but increasingly, especially where we are, power is the primary bottleneck and the critical path of getting a data center online. And DG Matrix is the fastest solution to be able to get to power.
Wow. I'm curious to hear the scaling of DG Matrix right now. I'm sure you have customers all across the country asking for your solutions so they can get connected earlier and they can, start getting revenue earlier. How is DG Matrix scaling in terms of manufacturing? And I want to state the fact that conventional transformers can have lead times of up to 4 years, right? Walk us through the bottleneck of materials, manufacturing capacity, or grid interconnection queues, and how DG Matrix is positioned in all of that.
Great question. And the answer is all of the above. To
Mm.
those constraints, it's a combination of all of it. And there's a lot of different pieces that have to come together to be able to build a data center. I mean, even thinking just on the power equipment side. And kind of the beauty of what DG Matrix can uniquely do is that we eliminate so many of those bottlenecks by providing that standardized power infrastructure. So no matter where you are, the type of site, the type of data center, the grid availability, we can help ensure that with a standardized interface, you can leverage all of the best solutions at your disposal to get to power faster. And so transformer lead times are definitely something that we see across the market and that is a core aspect of our value proposition that we can help solve for customers. Specific to our manufacturing ramp, I'm currently sitting in RDU1, which is Raleigh Factory 1, a very creative naming system. And this factory is about 400 to 500 megawatts a year of annual production capacity. We did recently announce a few months ago, directly across the street is RDU2, which is another 4.5 or 5 gigawatts of manufacturing capacity. So we've publicly stated that we will have in the ballpark of 10-ish gigawatts of manufacturing capacity online by early 2027. And we are realizing, and customers are telling us, that we need to juice those numbers up a little bit. And so we are I'll just say we're very actively investing in what manufacturing scale-up capabilities come next in the near future and the partners that we align with to enable a record ramp.
That's amazing. We had the pleasure of visiting the Raleigh facility earlier in October or November, as I remember, during the Duke Energy Weekend. Michael and Haroon and the team were very kind enough to welcome a group of Duke students joining them at their new facility, which is very inspiring to all of the involved. So thank you for that as well.
Absolutely. And you wouldn't recognize it if you came back. So you'll have to get another tour very soon.
Oh my gosh, maybe I might take you up on that. Um, so we hear all about the commercial scale, the demand that's coming from the customers in the world of AI that's changing, and we cannot talk about growth without talking about financing. So DG Matrix has gone from essentially zero to $100 million raised in roughly 15 months or less. So walk us through the financing journey, the investor conversations, the due diligence, the late night works, right? what surprised you the most during that journey?
It was a phenomenal experience being part of that financing journey. Definitely a unique experience, especially, someone in my position. Um, and very, very grateful to work very closely with our CEO in that entire process and to work very closely with our investors whom I have great relationships with now as a result of that. We received 206 no's before we got our first yes. 206 no's. And so it's a very nonlinear process and quite a roller coaster. And the reality is that it may have nothing. One of the realizations that we had to learn was it may have nothing to do with your team, with your capabilities, with your technology. There's so many factors behind the scenes that investors are screening for in terms of how do you complement their portfolio? How do you fall within their investment thesis? Did the partner have a bad day and decide that they didn't want to invest in you? You never know how these things can work. But there's a mixture of both persistence and knowing that you will make it work and it will happen, but also the coachability and learning. Because throughout all of these conversations, we got to learn and have insights from investors who are seeing so much across the market. So it was very valuable. And I always knew that we would have headlines like the ones that we've had, even in the moment. It feels like things are all over the place. It's a total roller coaster. You know that that headline is coming at the end of the day. And so now we're very grateful to, as you mentioned, have raised over $100 million and to have some incredible investors behind, like ABB, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Clean Energy Ventures, Engine Ventures, Chevron, Cerberus, many more, Piedmont Capital. We love them all. But what's very unique about DG Matrix, I think, compared with most companies, is that we have a really strong mix of both strategic and financial investors. Companies like ABB, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Chevron, these are juggernauts in terms of deep, like hard technology. And so DG Matrix is fundamentally built to scale in the toughest, the most demanding industries globally. And these companies that have armies of PhDs love DG Matrix the most. They see the thoroughness, the commitment to quality, the commitment to reliability, the thoroughness in the technology development process that is akin to a company with 100x the resources that we've had. And so that has kind of been a result of why every single investor who has looked at DG Matrix has said there's zero question that we are the undisputed leader in this technology area of solid state transformers.
For sure. I was gonna allude to that later as well. I was looking at a list of your investors and I was like, this is very impressive. Just the diversity and the trust that comes with it. And when you said you had 206 no's before you got your first yes, I was talking to one of the very accomplished Duke alumni over dinner a few months ago, and he told me he worked in selling like products over the phone, and he was like he would get no's on the phone a lot of the times, and he was like, so is it a no today or is it a no forever? So that kind of resilience, I think, in life, even one is at a successful multi-billion dollar company too, I think is needed. Curious to hear any investors that got back to you after saying no, after seeing your success.
Absolutely, of course. So I'll just share one. I'm pretty sure I could share publicly. Clean Energy Ventures, who led our seed round, we had talked with them a year before. And this was when we were in a different market, doing something different, and had good conversations. Again, wasn't quite a fit with what they were doing. And then we got back in touch a year later, and stars were aligned. And that just shows you, yeah, you never know in terms of how things change because markets are very dynamic and you have to be adaptable. So Clean Energy Ventures, who had initially said no, ended up leading our seed round, and they wrote the largest check that they had ever written into DG Matrix.
Uh, wow, that goes to show, honestly, DJ Matrix adaptability to changing markets and also just grabbing the opportunity. Curious to know, how do you build a team that is that flexible and is able to see opportunities as they arise. What's the DG Matrix team like? I want to learn more about it. And how does that differentiate you in the market and be able to grab these amazing opportunities?
One thing that our CEO, Haroon, always says is
Uh,
that you hire for high intelligence and low ego. And that low ego piece is very important, especially in an environment like this where it's very high intensity. You're working very closely with each other and you're working very long hours. You have to be able to be coachable, be adaptable, listen to your teammates, listen to the customer, while also having that brilliance and high degree of intelligence to go out and solve problems confidently, but
mm,
with low ego. So that is very core to the thesis of how Haroon has hired. And ultimately, it all goes back to the leadership. And the leadership sets the tone for the culture of the company. And so I'm very grateful to our entire leadership team, our board, of course, most importantly, our co-founders, Haroon and Dr. B, for setting a culture of the company that we are empowered to go out and do very hard things and solve problems and do those hard things confidently. And that goes back to, any young person thinking about joining a company. The people is by far the most
mhm.
seamless. Nothing else holds a candle in terms of an indicator of success in your growth with the company than the people who are there and who will guide your journey.
Wow, that's a great answer, Michael. I think I also needed to hear that. So I appreciate you saying it. We hear numbers, we hear success on headlines, we read about them, but oftentimes we sometimes overlook the people behind it and the thought leadership that goes into the success every single day for a long time. So I think just appreciate you illustrating it. Um, Going back to the financing, especially a lot of our listeners are interested in energy finance, and you're in the talks of capital stack, I'm sure. Right now, what's the capital stack conversation that matters the most? Venture, project finance, strategic investment, which I'm sure some of your investors are, or totally something else that we haven't heard of?
It's a great question. We see a lot and we deal with a lot in the project finance space now as well, not directly because DG Matrix is not taking ownership of these projects, but we are interfacing very frequently with large project finance companies. To build a gigawatt data center is going to cost tens of billions of dollars. So this is very, very real money that's being thrown around, and um, you have to make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's, and the expectations are that much higher when you're going into that type of environment and with that type of money on the line. One thing that I will say is overlooked often is on the insurance side. So
Mm,
various insurance strategies are very critical to make sure you're mitigating risk in the right way as you're thinking about the large scale projects, because um, delays can happen and things can go wrong that aren't your fault at all. And I'm saying this is more on the project developer side, not so much on DG Matrix side, but insurance is something that's often overlooked in the capital stack that I expect will generally in the industry see a lot more focus on as these build outs continue to scale.
gotcha, gotcha. And I guess the reliability that DG Matrix provides to these infrastructure companies, data centers, could also play into the insurance strategy. Am I correct in assuming that?
Absolutely right. I mean, so there's a lot of advantages that we can bring, and by being able to prove that we can deliver higher reliability, higher availability than a conventional data center architecture is a massive both financial as well as strategic advantage to the developers and the data center operators that we're working with. 100% right.
Amazing. Michael, it's been a really fantastic conversation. I think we could talk for hours and hours. I don't want to get ahead of myself too much or be presumptuous, but I am a dreamer. I like to think about the future a lot. So curious to know or learn about 1 year from now and also 5 years from now. So two scenarios, 1 year from now and 5 years from now. What does DJ Matrix look like and what does Michael would look like?
DG Matrix is here to build a multi-generational energy company. That is our vision. And truly, I mean, that's the scale at which we're operating. That's the mentality that we have. And so, I mean, thinking about in 1 year, I'm thinking about the large data center deployments we're doing, manufacturing capacity ramp up, continuing to scale the team. 5 years from now, I'm thinking about DG Matrix as the global standard for all energy infrastructure, no matter what industry we're going into. Definitely in the data center space, but also more broadly. I mean, that is the scale of the opportunity. I mean, this is a multi-trillion-dollar market, at least. And that's the type of opportunity we're capitalizing on. And so I see us in the short term, executing at light speed to deliver the solutions that our customers are demanding faster than ever. And then 5 years, we're charting the course for the next 100 years of energy infrastructure or energy future. That's the opportunity in front of us. And then
It's amazing.
in terms of Michael Wood specifically, of course, my journey through DG Matrix has encompassed wearing a lot of different hats, and the hat that I'm wearing most of the time right now is, I work very closely with our data center customers, hyperscalers, colos, neoclouds, edge providers, and it's phenomenal being able to get in the room with these customers and help them solve their most challenging problems, help them get time to power faster, help them future-proof, help them win in the market that is getting increasingly competitive. And if we can help them win together, it's a fantastic feeling, as well as results in a lot of value for both of us. So see myself continuing to grow, continuing to scale and learn every day within DG Matrix, and to deliver a lot of value to our customers and to our investors, and to have a lot of fun along the way, because we win every day, and it's a fantastic environment, and hard to describe the excitement that we feel in the DG Matrix office every minute of every day.
Absolutely. In Mongolian, we say, because I'm from Mongolia, we say, "Yurul batashik," which means may the great words exist firmly. So it's more than coming true, but existing firmly. So "Yurul batashke," may the words exist firmly. Um, we have had a fantastic conversation starting with your journey at 9 years old to working at DG Matrix, one of the most exciting companies in energy and AI data centers right now. What advice do you have for our listeners, most of whom might be early stage professionals, or we never know, right? What advice do you have for our listeners?
You will learn more about an industry, more about people, more about yourself from building something than you can through anything else. So it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a club at school. It could be a venture-backed company. It could be a newsletter, podcast, anything. You will learn more from that than you can ever imagine. So my advice is always to jump in with both feet and to start talking with people in the areas that interest you. It's not going to come find you. You have to go find it, whatever that it is. So get in there and make stuff happen. And I'll also say that there's no more exciting time to be in the energy industry. When we founded Energy Terminal 5 years ago, it was a very different environment where we were really pulling people of like, this is the industry that's foundational under everything. Like, this is what you need to do. Now, energy is a front page of the Wall Street Journal every single day type of issue. It has never been more front of mind and front and center in the world. And so the biggest impact that you can possibly make in your life and career is, I firmly believe, is going to be in the energy industry, because this underpins everything. So find a way to embed energy in any aspect of your life and career, and it will pay dividends.
Wow, such a great advice, Michael. Very, very thoughtful and insightful advice. And thank you for charting the path for a lot of Duke graduates going into the energy space and being an inspiration that the Duke students can look up to.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Would love to know where people can find you and follow DG Matrix after the podcast.
So follow us on LinkedIn, please, at DG Matrix. And mine is Michael Wood III. It's like III. On LinkedIn website, please hit the follow button. And we post quite a lot of content out there. We're very active in the ecosystem. So make sure to follow along. We've got some big announcements coming very soon related to new partnerships and deployments and much, much more. So stay tuned.
Amazing. Michael, before I let you go, I always ask this at the end of my podcast. Who do you think is doing something meaningful in the energy space that you think we should invite to the Polaris Energy Finance podcast?
Ooh, good question. So always thinking about intersection of energy and AI. So a lot of these neo-cloud companies that are truly changing the narrative for how AI intersects with energy infrastructure would be fantastic. I'll also call out one person specifically who's a fellow Duke grad and who helped get me started in the energy industry in the first place. It's a good friend, Will Reynolds, over at Medox, incredible company building superconducting technology for data centers and elsewhere. And he could be a great person to share some insights on this podcast.
Amazing. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck to you and best of luck to DJ Matrix. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you very much for hosting me and really enjoyed the conversation.